dear students, I hope you would have understood the chapter The Third Level by Jack Finney. Now let us throw some light into the important words and their meanings. The first one is stack. Stack means a pile of objects, typically one that is neatly arranged. Next, timetables, a schedule showing the departure and arrival times of trains, buses, or aircraft. Waking dream, an involuntary dream occurring while a person is awake. Wander, that is, walk or to roam about. Suburban, that's the residential. Suburban means outside the city also. Duct, lower the head or body quickly. Arch, curved. Bumping, knock or run into something. Spittoons, we had a talk regarding spittoons. They were the metal or earthenware pot typically having a funnel shaped top used for spitting into. Vest, a garment worn on the upper part of the body. Snapped, break suddenly and completely. Locomotive, a powered railway vehicle used for pulling the trains. Fussing, to show unnecessary or excessive concern about something. Sleeve protector, that's a garment worn on forearm and arm. Flickering, not steady wearing. Students, you need to go through the chapter very carefully for the better understanding of the chapter and go through the word meanings. Now let us discuss some question answers. The first question is, how does Jack Finney try to establish reality at the outset? The answer is, the author says that the presidents of the New York Central and the New York, New Haven and Hartford railroads will swear on a stack of timetables that there are only 2 levels at the Grand Central Station. Fast trains like the 20th century leave from the first level, whereas the suburban trains leaves from the second level. What does Charlie the narrator say about the third level at Grand Central Station? How does his psychiatrist friend respond? Charlie asserts that there are 3 levels at Grand Central Station. His assertion is based on his personal experience. He has been on the third level. Among others, he talked to a psychiatrist friend, Sam Weiner, about it. The psychiatrist said that it was a waking dream, wish fulfillment. He was unhappy and he just wanted to escape. That means he wanted to escape from the worries, the problems of day-to-day life. How did Charlie, his wife Lucia, and his friends react to the psychiatrist's observation? When the psychiatrist said that Charlie was unhappy and wanted to escape, Charlie's wife, Lucia, was shocked. The remark made her kind of mad. The psychiatrist explained that the modern world was full of insecurity, fear, war, worry, etc. He regarded Charlie's stamp collection as a temporary refuge from reality. This is very, very important. Temporary refuge from reality. Charlie's friends agreed to the psychiatrist's observation, but Charlie did not. What arguments does Charlie offer to show his disagreement with the psychiatrist's diagnosis? Charlie says that almost everyone wants to escape from the stress, tension, fear and worry of the modern world. But these people do not wander down into any third level at Grand Central Station. Secondly, his grandfather, who started stamp collecting, did not need any refuge from the reality. That means his grandfather did not escape from reality. During his time, things were pretty nice and peaceful. Even President Roosevelt collected stamps. The next question is, what curious experience did Charlie have one day when he went to the Grand Central to take the subway? Charlie walked down a flight of stairs to the second level. He then ducked into an arched doorway, heading for the subway and got lost. The corridor turned left and sloped downward, but he kept on walking. He heard only the empty sound of his own footsteps. He did not pass a soul. Pass a soul, he did not come across any other person except himself. The tunnel turned sharp left. He went down a short flight of stairs and came out on the third level at Grand Central Station. That's easy to do, says Charlie. What does he mean by it? What examples does he give to prove his contention? By that's easy to do, Charlie means that it is easy to get lost. He has been in and out of Grand Central hundreds of times, but he's always bumping into new doorways and stairs and corridors. Once he got into a tunnel. It was about a mile long. He came out in the lobby of the Roosevelt Hotel. Another time, he came up in an office building on 46th Street, 3 blocks away. Sometimes I think Grand Central is growing like a tree, pushing out new corridors and staircases like roots, says Charlie. Why does Charlie make this comparison? What does he exactly wants to justify? The Grand Central Station is certainly expanding. Charlie says that there may be a long tunnel under the city up to the Times Square and another to the Central Park. Nobody knows about them. For many people, Grand Central has been an exit, a way of escape through the years. So it is possible that it may have the tunnel Charlie got into and reached the third level. What convinced Charlie that he had come out on the third level at Grand Central Station and not on the second level? Charlie found the difference between the second and the third level that he had come up to. In the third level, the room was smaller here. There were fewer ticket windows and train gates. The information booth in the center was of wood and old looking. There were brass spittoons on the floor. Dim and flickering open flame gaslights illuminated the place. People wore derby hats. Derby hats refer to the hats that were worn by the people long time ago. And 4-button black suit with tiny lapels. They used golden pocket watches. Women put on dresses covering their whole body. A very small locomotive with a funnel-shaped stack was on the track. All these differences convinced Charlie that he had come out on the third level. What do you think helped Charlie to establish the exact date of his wandering down into the third level at Grand Central Station? Charlie judged from the style of dress the people at third level were wearing that they belonged to the 1890s. Their beards, sideburns and fancy moustaches also pointed out to that era. Charlie saw a stack of the newspaper, The World, at the feet of the newsboy. The lead story was about President Cleveland. From the files of the public library, he came to know that the issue was printed on 11th June 1894. Now, this is an important place that we need to observe in this chapter, that is Galesburg, Illinois. What do you learn about Galesburg, Illinois during 1894? This is the same place that Charlie wanted to go along with his wife Lucia. Galesburg is described as a wonderful town with big old frame houses and huge lawns. The branches of the splendid old trees met overhead and covered the streets. In 1894, summer evenings were twice as long. People sat out on their lawns. The men would be smoking cigars and talking quietly. The women would be waving palm leaf fans. There were fireflies all around. It was a peaceful world that had not been ravaged by the two world wars of the 20th century. So I think it is Charlie who wanted to go to the past just because he wanted to run away from the harsh realities of life. He wanted to run away from the sorrows, miseries, and the day to day problems that he was coming across. How did the booking clerk try to size up the narrator while calculating the fare? The booking clerk glanced at the narrator's fancy headband, but he figured the fare. The narrator had enough money for 2 coach tickets, one way. But when the narrator counted out the money and looked up, the clerk began to stare at him. Why do you think the booking clerk refused to accept the money? Why did the narrator get out so fast? The booking clerk looked at the money the narrator offered to buy tickets. He nodded his disapproval, saying, "That I ain't money, mister." He also issued a warning. If you were trying to skin me, if you were trying to cheat me, you would not get very far. Kindly quote the lines as given from the chapter itself. The narrator did not think it nice to go to the jail, so he turned away and got out fast.